started writing that book was just, you know, you just hear people all the time. Well, I don't know why those kids just don't go tell. Why don't they just call the cops? Why don't they just tell the teacher? You got all of this just tell stuff going on. And the truth of the matter is it's so risky. If I'm a kid and I tell you, and you want to do something about it, you're going to go to the authorities or call my parents or whatever grown-up thing you're going to do that I don't understand. And if it doesn't stick, I got to go home.
That's right.
And let me tell you, that was never lost on me. You don't tell. You do not tell. The consequences are too bad. They're swift and they're bad.
This is what people just don't get. Even with abused women, let alone children.
Yeah.
You don't tattle on the guards when you're in a concentration camp.
No, you got to make it stick. You got to make it stick. It's my life on the line. Right. You might feel good because I came and told you, and everybody's going to feel good because they got to do this thing for this child. And I'm not saying that it's not necessary. Something has to happen. But it's not that simple. It's just not that simple. And for me to trust is a serious issue. You don't trust the people that gave birth to you. Why am I going to trust you? Who are you? You don't care about me, not really. You're just some adult that wants to feel good. And we're just that cynical. We are very sophisticated in that thought process. You just want to feel good. At my expense, you're going to feel good. That's probably not going to happen. I know of a case actually right now. These children have been taken away from their parents and placed with their aunt 3 different times. They've been taken away. Their parents do drugs. The mother's been prostituting herself. The children have been exposed to things. The oldest daughter now has a stutter that she didn't have before. The mother's not beating them, but she flicks them. She flicks them with her fingers so much that they've got scars from her doing that. Those kids talked. And what happened? Where are they? They're back with their mother. They're back with their mother and their father. Back in that drug home because everybody says, you know, it's so important to keep the family together. You're destroying those children. They have to have speech classes now. I mean, this is what happens. You want to talk about the cost of what happens to these kids? Now you've got the system involved. So you've got social workers and courts and lawyers. And these people are not paying all this cost. The taxpayers are paying for all of this. Now they know there's a problem with the kids. They're seeing speech therapists and special teachers, and they have to go to Head Start just to get ready to even get themselves into a preschool situation so that they can go to school. They've got all sorts of issues.
Everything's happening except protecting the children.
But they keep putting them back. They keep putting them back where that's happening.
Because it's more important to save the family than it is the people in it.
Yes. Yes. It's all about somebody's feeling good because they're doing all these things. And it makes me crazy because, you know, I was that kid. I would run away from home. I ran away from home and they dragged me back because I was bad. Nobody ever said to me, why are you running away? And I would say, you know, I find myself just wanting to just yell. It's these girls that run away, probably the boys too, but these girls that run away and they're prostitutes. Everybody says, oh, these children, I mean, they're bad girls. You've got a 12-year-old selling her body. Is anybody asking where she learned to do that? 12 years old?
Right.
She's barely even she's not even a teenager. I mean, what is she? She's still a kid. She's 2 years away, a year away from playing with her dolls. But she's out there being a prostitute because that's better than living at home. What does that mean? And why aren't we asking those questions? Because we don't want to hear the answer. Just like some people will tell me, I can't read your book because I don't want to know what it feels like to be that kid. And I mean, and that's the harsh truth. They don't want to know what it feels like. They don't want to know the truth. They don't want to ask the question. And they have to.
They don't want to look at an inconvenient truth.
Right. They don't. So I kind of went off down the rabbit trail there, but that is why I wrote my book. That's why I wrote my book. I just think that people need to understand. When I first started it, and that was where I was going with it, when I first started it, I was just kind of mad because I was sick of that question. Why don't people just tell? And that was what it was. It was just, goodness, it's just a rant. This is why. Now maybe you get it. With the first one, I heard from a few people, and I started to understand that this mattered in ways that I had not actually thought about or intended. Because I think that I'm talking to people who don't know what it's like to be an abused kid. You don't get it, so I'm going to be the messenger, right? I'm going to let you know. And by the time the second one had come out, all of a sudden my sales started. You know, this has been a real steady climb as I've gone. It wasn't like this book came out and was just this big flash. It's been very steady and very, you know, and I've got peaks and valleys. But it's been steady. Well, by the time the second one had come out, I started hearing from people. All of a sudden, it's a responsibility. All of a sudden, I realized the people who are reading my book are not the people I wrote it for. It's people like me.
That want to make a difference.
If they want to make a difference, they want to be understood, they want to be heard. People want to be heard. They just want to be heard. You know, people looking at us and saying, you know, I can't believe this happened. What do you want to talk about this for? That's who you are. Everybody gets to talk about their childhood, good, bad. You know, kids who got took out behind the woodshed, they weren't really abused, but they got took out there. You know, they get to talk about those stories, but you don't get to tell your stories. We don't get to tell our war stories because it's just too much for people to hear. You know, we have real war stories, and we've got real scars, and but they don't want to hear it. Because it's too ugly. Well, how do you think it feels to be that person? You know, no, it's just this, it just doesn't make any sense to me when there's all this talk about, you know, making it right and, you know, everybody's wonderful and kumbaya, but they don't really want to hear it, you know. But I hear from people on a regular basis every day. I hear from somebody who thanks me for writing my story, because it's all out now under one cover. I have people contact me and say, I went into therapy. I never told anybody, but I read your book and now I'm in therapy. And I never told my husband. I've been married for 45 years. I sat down and told my husband my story. And he cried with her. She never expected that. Another woman who was married, and I told you that story earlier. It was not looking good for her, you know. Now she's got a beautiful baby and she's got a happy marriage. She's a young woman, you know. Her whole life was ahead of her, and she was getting ready to toss the whole thing. I've heard from people who didn't kill themselves because you know, some crazy post I made on Facebook about living your life 15 minutes at a time. You get through anything for 15 minutes. Just do that. Just do that, because there's this life waiting for you. And don't wait until you're 50 years old to figure it out. Figure it out now. You know, have your kids and have your life. And you know, that was stolen from you. Your childhood was stolen from you. Don't let them steal your adult life too. And I would like to beg anybody who's listening to this to don't say it ruined your life either. Because this is your life. This is what you got. And what you do with it is what's going to determine whether it's ruined or not. And I'm here to tell you, you know, I could stand up here and I could point out scars. I've got scars all over my body, physical scars. Some of them are covered up with tattoos, which just makes me cool today. But the truth is, I just refuse to let them steal another day of my life. I just want you to get up and live your life and tell yourself this is over. And what you do from today forward, that's what matters. And don't let anybody tell you you can't. It does not occur to them that it's over, because you're so busy surviving the moment. You see a lot of kids, but the truth is the average age for an adult to get into any kind of therapy for child abuse is 33, 34 years old.
Well, the sad thing about it is that these people that are abused have been told all along that it's their fault.
Yeah.
They've been told all
Oh,
along
look at
that
me.
they have no right or no choice.
I'm going to tell you something else. If they would call it what it is, you're being beat. It's assault.
Yes.
You're being raped. It's not child abuse.
Right.
It's not being molested. It's rape. Rape.
Right.
And why was I told that I was causing that to happen? You know, I was told they raped me too. That's rape. But we don't call that because it's a kid. We don't call it rape. Call it what it is. I would have felt so much better even at 33. I was molested and it's not my fault. What I should have been sitting in that room saying was, I was raped. It was assault. People go to jail for that. They go to jail and they're punished. But because you're a kid, it's just, you were just molested. It's such a benign. Today, you know, my book's been out for a couple of years, doing well. When I first started out, I had all women. It was all women. And, which is statistically, you know, that's pretty much what people think, that it's women. I have as many men following me today as I do women. Men that were abused, men that have come on my radio show and told their story, and men who have said they can read my book and they don't find it to be particularly gender specific. They see themselves in there. And I didn't do that on purpose either. So, you know, but I think that's important to point out that it's not just women. Women are certainly, there's a conversation to be had about what happens to women. I do think it's important. I think that men internalize sexual abuse. I think that they internalize it differently than women do, because the majority of predators are men, and it is so they inflict that on women. My father, for example, he molested boys and girls, but he was really quick to call somebody. His favorite word was "you faggot." You know, it was a very derogatory term, but he was doing it to boys too. I know for me, it caused me to be fairly promiscuous because I didn't have any boundaries at all with males, and I think that when it happens to a male, there's some confusion. He's been violated by a male, and he's a male, and it affects his identity in a different way than it affects a woman's identity. You know, if a woman is desired by a male, whether you want that or not, you know, somehow it's a male-female thing. It's still twisted, but it's a male-female. But if you got a male-male going on, and you have a young boy who really doesn't have those tendencies, but he starts to question who he is in a way that we are not questioning. One of the groups of people that really struggles is women who were sexually abused by their mothers or other women. And they struggle. They struggle to find acceptance, and they struggle to find groups that they can get into. And what I hear is a lot of the same sorts of things that I hear from a lot of men. It's particularly confusing to them. You know, people are gay for many, many reasons. I really believe that. I think some people are gay because they were just born that way, and I believe that. And other people, from years and years of being in a group with other women, particularly women I can speak to, they're gay because they were sexually abused and they just don't want to be touched. So I think that there's there's just this whole thing that is going on out there, and I don't think that we've even begun to touch the iceberg of what this has done to people.
When you let them come on your show, or when you let them blog you or talk to you or be a part of it, they're finding acceptance and understanding. That's something they didn't grow up with. You didn't grow up with that.
No.
That is extremely healing.
Facebook is magical, but there's a whole community out there. When I was going to therapy, I'd be having a bad day. Well, I might have to wait till Thursday and talk to my therapist about this, and it's Saturday. you know, so you got to hold on to it. Today, you can still be in therapy, and I highly recommend that. You know, I push that all the time. I don't think that this is something you should go through alone. But if you're having a bad day or something happened or you had a trigger, you can get online, and there's people there, and they get it. They get it. They'll talk to you. You know, they're not therapists. There are people who lived it. That's so important. It's powerful, powerful. It's been known for years that group therapy is very powerful. Well, you can get on Facebook. There's secret groups. If you can't get yourself into therapy, or even if you can, I'll hook you up with these people. But I have to hook you up with these people. You don't just get in. I know one group, she's got like 1,100 people. And this is her life. She's retired, and this is what she does. She runs this group, and she runs it with an iron fist. There are rules, and you sign in for these rules, and if you break them, it's dealt with. Because, you know, sometimes people are suicidal, or, you know, they're just really coming apart. And I've encountered these people that are coming apart at the seams. And all you can do is try to hold them together until they can get themselves. Some people are just holding themselves together while waiting in line to get to a therapist. You know, maybe they don't have any funds, and they're waiting for the funds to come free. Or, you know, there's a program, but they have to wait until they're qualified. Well, in the meantime, they're at home contemplating, you know, 17 ways to kill themselves because they can't do it anymore. And that's the unfortunate thing. A lot of these people are in crisis before they get into therapy. Before at us, you know, they just laugh about getting hit in the head with a flip-flop and how I could possibly do that. So, so it's a pretty good aim. Child abuse perpetuates itself, I think, because of things like that. I was lucky. You know, I look back at my life, and I know lots of people like me, obviously. I spend a lot of time online, and, you know, I talk to people through the, you know, I have a radio thing I do, and I talk to all sorts of people. And, it perpetuates because we don't have any skills. Nobody tells us how to do it right. Nobody says. You know, what a simple thing, time out. You know, you always hear it takes 3 generations for this to go away. And my kids are in and out of therapy. And we just kind of see it as you got a cavity, you get a filling, you need your teeth cleaned, you go to the dentist. You know, you got a problem and you need somebody to be objective about it, you go to a counselor. And I think that that's a really healthy attitude. You know, you go to people who know how to do things. And if somebody can help you work through something, why not do that, right? And I'm really proud that they do that. My kids had a rough way to go with me. In other ways, you know, I had a complete meltdown. My youngest daughter was in kindergarten, 1st grade. They came home from school, and I was being taken away. I had broken all the windows in the house. You know, they didn't understand what was going on, and they had to come and see me in a facility. They had to be told things that I don't think any kid ought to have to listen to, because it became very clear to them, even as little as they were, that there was something really wrong with their mom. And, you know, they weren't given all the gory details, but they were told enough. So that, you know, there was some counseling for them behind that. And I guess that's where I was thinking is, I have grandchildren. And my little granddaughter in particular, she's so like me. She's mouthy, and she's very artistic, and people comment on how much she's like me. And sometimes it's a gift, because I didn't have that. I didn't have that freedom to just, you know, I was artistic, and it made my dad mad, because, you know, he wanted to be artistic. And my little granddaughter, you know, she's got a little table in her room, and when she wants to go, she'll go sit in there and draw for hours. You know, she sends me refrigerator art. good stuff, because I can look at my grandkids and I can see pieces of who I could have been. And yeah, I can't even articulate what that feels like, because I got here. It just took so long. It just took so long. And I see them and I just think that they just are, there's such great things ahead of them, because they're not abused. Do you know what I mean? They get to be who they are, even when they're annoying. They get to be who they are. And I'm just glad I get to see that.
You made the statement that your grandkids could be what you could have been. But I want to tell you something. What you could have been may not be as powerful as what you are. You have graduated from hell. You've gone back and analyzed it. You've written a book about it. You've thrown it out to the public and said, look at this is reality. Change it. How many people can do that? How many people have the courage to stand up and say, look at my life. It's broken. And there's hundreds and thousands of children like me, and you won't look. Can you hear me now? How many people do you think you've touched? How many more people are you going to touch? There's no way on earth that you could be the powerhouse that you are if you hadn't walked where you walked and survived to tell it. You don't realize it, but you're grand. You're absolutely grand. If not because of it, in spite of it. But you are. Never doubt for a moment who you are, because you are one powerful, wonderful lady. And I do mean it.
Thanks. You're welcome. You know what, mostly I don't feel so big and powerful. Mostly I just feel like, you know why I do this? Well, mostly because I can, actually. Because I can. I don't know where that comes from, but I can.
And you must.
And I have a really strong, driven need for what happened to me to matter. And this makes it not be for nothing. I just really don't want it to be for nothing.
Not for nothing. To change the future. To free the next generation. To educate the next generation. And to stop the violence for all those who listen.
I really do believe if people could be made to understand, they wouldn't do it. How could you do that to somebody if you knew it, if you really understood it, if you got it? And I don't think most parents get up in the morning. Quite frankly, I think mine did. I don't think most parents get up in the morning and say, oh, I think I'm going to beat my kid within an inch of their life today. I don't think that they get up and say, I'm going to hit my kid with a 2x4 or lock them in their room or tie them to the porch or, any of the, it's quite astonishing the number of things that people come up with to do to their kids. Even with all of that, I don't think they get up in the morning and say that's what they're going to do. I think they love them. I do. It's just so twisted and broken, and they don't get it.
And today, Annie, today you've achieved a lot. You're self-sustaining, your family's raised, you're an author, you're working on more projects. Tell us what you've achieved. And then tell us what your aspiration is. Where are you going from here?
Where am I going? what have I achieved? You know, it's just, I almost never think about it. Never encapsulated like that. It's like, oh, I'm just, you know. But I have. I've achieved a lot. I mean, you know, I grew up being told I was stupid. And I have 2 master's degrees and 2 undergraduate degrees. Go me. And I graduated with A's out of my master's program. A double master's, by the way. I'm pretty proud of that. And as a matter of fact, that was a transforming moment in my life. And I didn't know it until I got there, you know, to walk in to graduate. The one thing that I'm always struck by was my grandmother, my mother's mother, actually. She had a huge influence on me. And I don't think she ever really knew that. She was gone by the time I got my master's degree. When I walked through those double doors, I just started bawling like a baby because I so missed her, and I so wish she was there to see that, because she always said, you know what, an education will set you free. You'll get anywhere you want. Get an education. Be a ditch digger because it's your choice, not because it's all you can do. And it was really good advice that a very young girl who wanted out of her house very badly hung on to. You never know what a kid's going to hang on to get them through the day. And that was, you know, that worked for me. I was a terrible student when I was in high school. As a matter of fact, I don't know how I graduated from high school. I think out of 250 kids, I was like 249 on the list. It was pretty bad. And then nobody thought I would go to college. My kids are all raised. My daughter graduated from college with honors, high honors. And my other daughter goes to Fashion Week in Europe and New York 3, 4, 5 times a year. I can't keep up anymore. My son is he's still working on deciding who he's going to be. He's still young. He's legally an adult, but he's, you know, still my baby boy. I wrote my book, which turned out to be so much more than I ever expected it to be, because it was risky material. You know,